Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for being with us tonight. Tonight, America faces the single biggest threat in her more than 200-year history. Worse than what we faced in World War I, World War II, the attack on Pearl Harbor, and Al-Qaeda on 9/11. I'm telling you, ISIS, if not already on American soil, will be here. They are coming. And whether they come as a legion or lone wolves, the damage will be painful and it will be extensive. It will happen here on our soil. You're fortunate that you live in a country virtually untouched by war, while in other parts of the world, it's their daily fare. Except for military families, the horrors that we watch on the news could just as well be a world away. But now, this is close. The simple truth, we are not prepared and certainly not ready. Lone wolves arrested in Washington State, Rochester, New York, and Colorado. I've been telling you for months that you need to be afraid. Now, you know me. Most of the time, I'm fearless. I've spent my life fighting, investigating, prosecuting, and sentencing the worst of the worst. But tonight, I'm worried. You may not know where places like Baghdad, Aleppo, Tehran, or Fallujah are, but if you don't think that what happens there matters to you, you're wrong. And I don't care if you live in Beaumont, Texas, New York City, or Anaconda, Montana. You need to be afraid. And what we need to do. My resolution? Airstrikes. Bomb them. Bomb them, keep bombing them, bomb them again and again. And I don't care how long it takes. Just take out ISIS, take out their convoys, and take out those troops. You may have thought it was good TV, even entertaining. But you now know it's not a joke. 2 Americans beheaded by an English-speaking barbarian, a third a Brit, while a 4th is lined up for the most brutal, savage, end-of-life experience imaginable. These are not amateurs. They are experts at the systematic, pervasive torture, mass killings, rape, public crucifixions, beheadings, some even videotaped and used as a propaganda tool to entice those who believe in evil and want to impose hell on the rest of us under the guise of their God. The ISIS terror group owns oil fields. They have a corporate structure, and they bring in $3 million a day selling oil. They leverage technology to glorify and recruit more jihadists, all while the world watches while we dither and call them a JV team. But like a lion waiting to attack, they watch their prey. They analyze us. They read us. Do we act when Americans are in danger? Do we even react? Almost 2 years to arrest the Benghazi ringleader. They know our vulnerabilities and strengths. At times, they are one and the same. We are a free and open society with risks inherent in each. They know the border is not only open, they know they'll be welcomed with no papers at all. And this week's arrests in Australia magnify the global reach of ISIS, where random kidnappings and public beheadings were planned, all linked to ISIS. Their intent was to actually behead random members of the public. You, anyone. And they call these demonstration killings designed to shock and horrify. Yes, everything I've been telling you for months is accurate. You need to think September 11, 2001. You need to remember what it felt like then. Don't sit there and think the government has you covered. Hell, the White House itself and its perimeter were penetrated twice in the last 24 hours. And think Boston, as in Boston bombers. 2 brothers, 1 a teen, here on asylum as victims of another country. We do everything for them. And when another country calls to tell us not once but twice that they're a terror risk, our FBI investigates and concludes that they're not. And when the older brother goes back and forth to the country from which he sought asylum, he's not stopped upon his return to the U.S. by ICE or Homeland Security. These two brothers had the whole city of Boston on lockdown with a couple of pressure cookers. FBI, state police, local police, ATF, all looking for one team. Do you think anyone would be able to respond to your needs in such a situation? Not a chance. No one is taking this seriously enough. If our government were listening, our borders would be closed. If our government were listening, we'd be bombing ISIS nonstop. And if they were listening, our president would be following the advice of the military experts united on the issue of boots on the ground. But instead, our president thinks he knows more than the military experts. A disagreement highlighted this week and virtually unseen in American history. And if our government were listening, we would never have gotten out of Iraq the way that we did, with the consequences that George Bush predicted and even Leon Panetta said was a mistake. And if the government were listening, they would raise the terror threat level. When people are willing to commit war crimes on camera, they are not afraid of us. And if only you were listening this time, I'm telling you to batten down the hatches. Make plans to reach family members in the event of an emergency. Teach your children to be alert. Get supplies that might not be as easily available. Check what your kids, even teens, are looking at online. It's time for us to come together and take the threat seriously. And that's my open. With me now, former CIA officer and Army veteran who served as a senior intelligence advisor to the House Homeland Security Committee, Joshua Katz. All right, Joshua, am I wrong?
You are not wrong, and in fact, you're spot on. And there's a couple things here that I think we need to start with. You are not being alarmist. What you are doing is you are having an adult conversation about a really hard topic, right? This is a topic that the administration's not wanted to talk about. We need, as adults, to talk about it, because if we do not talk about it, we can't share the information. If we don't have the information, we can't prepare for anything. Right, so let's start there. This is a great discussion to have, and I think the question is, are they here now, right? Are they here? And my sources are telling me, at least in the Boston area alone, right, we're looking at tens of these guys. That's in Boston area, right? So you can only imagine what's going on in the rest of the country. They're here now.
All right, Joshua. Now you have advised senior members of Congress. You're a former CIA. You're a veteran. When you advised the senior members of Congress on the I believe it was the Homeland Security Committee, you actually told them about ISIS. What was their response?
We had discussions about this well over a year ago. And you know, at that point, this was a classified discussion. And they were very, very worried about the spread of ISIS. They were worried about the capabilities of ISIS.
But what did they do?
So what we tried to do, and very unfortunately unsuccessfully, because I think here what we see is that Congress needs an administration that's willing to work with it. What we did not have was an administration that was willing to work with us to implement things to stop ISIS from coming to the United States.
What were you recommending that Congress do? What did they want to do to stop ISIS over a year ago?
So what we needed to do was to, one of the things you had mentioned, let's lock down the borders. Let's not only lock down the borders, but let's push the borders out. Let's bring this fight to the people that want to hit us in our homes. Let's hit them in their homes first, because what we don't want to have happen is we don't want them to come here. Now it's too late. Now we have to move on to Plan C and Plan D. And you know, part of that plan is to continue to hit them where they are, to continue to hit them, but we have to be willing to absolutely destroy them. This is not a group that's going to go away with just air power. We need a lot of intelligence, we need a lot of information, and we need direct action here.
Well, we know
action.
We know that, Joshua, and yet we're saying we're putting together a coalition, but not with Iran and not with Syria, and there's got to be boots on the ground. It's not going to be Americans. Who's going to be in the boots?
Well, you know, I think, Judge, this is a great question because it's a question I've been asking. This administration's been great in the past about touting who's on its coalitions. They don't have anybody here. And the reason they don't have anybody here is because they know, our allies in the region, our partners in the region know we're not committed. We have to show commitment.
All right, how soon? People say, you know, we hear what happened in Australia just a couple of days ago, this imminent plan to just do random beheadings with machetes. What can you imagine? Are these just going to be lone wolves? Do we know what it's going to be? And what can people do to prepare?
So there's two great questions. Let's first address where they're going to come from here. Because I think, first of all, they're already here. But where ISIS really differs and where ISIS really scared me a while ago was that they are using Americans. They're using Westerners. They're using Western Europeans who have free access to the United States. So they understand that the best way to get at us, they don't have to cross the southwest border. They just have to fly into Kennedy. So it's unfortunate. That's
a reality.
Where
but
we
what
are.
do people do to prepare? What can they do?
So one of the first things they can do is they can have this honest discussion. We can identify that there is a threat out there. When they identify the threat, then we can start to plan. We can start to plan as households. You know, I just had a conversation tonight with my family about this same topic, about what do we do? What is our family plan?
What do you do? We're coming up against a break. What do we do?
So what we need to do is you need to plan for the worst and hope for the best. But you cannot have, your plan can't be hope here. Hope is not a plan. You know, we learned this in the military. I use that at the CIA. You need a home plan.
What's the home plan? Give me an idea.
So,
what do you do?
The home plan is to know how to communicate without your cell phone, know how to communicate without email, know where your kids are, know where your emergency supplies are, have emergency supplies, have water, have food, just real basic things. Because if an emergency situation, whether it's ISIS or a hurricane, it doesn't matter, a plan's a plan, you will fare a lot better than your neighbors will.
All right, Joshua Katz, thanks so much for being with us this evening.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And coming up, more on the ISIS threat. And the Benghazi hearings begin. Will we finally get the complete picture? And vote in tonight's Insta poll. What does America need to do to prepare for ISIS? Facebook or tweet me at Judge Jeanine, and we're going to read some of your answers later in the show. Stay with us.